Well, it took a couple days, but a trade I first reported on Sunday has been made official between the Oshawa Generals and the Sioux Greyhounds, and it's a pretty big deal as the Oshawa Generals acquiring Nashville Predators prospect Andrew Gibson for Brady Smith and 8 draft picks. So a great haul here for the Sioux Greyhounds as they're a team looking to the future. And a pretty good pickup with Brady Smith. A lot of potential, kind of comparable to Parker Vaughn. So let's break down this trade. And what's most important about this one is how it compares to the deal that the London Knights had for Cam Allen and the Guelph Storm, as they received Allen for Jankin, but only gave up 7 draft picks, although that included 2 second-rounders that went to the Guelph Storm. In this deal for Gibson, the Sioux Greyhounds only receiving 1 second, a third, and 2/4, 2/6, and 1/7. So all in all, I think this is a great haul for the Sioux Greyhounds looking towards the future. Of course, these are picks that they could use to acquire assets in the future as they look to get back into that cycle of contention that we see in junior hockey. Every team goes through it, where you have your down years where you're selling off some players and then you go and you become a buyer, like we're seeing with the Oshawa Generals. So for Andrew Gibson, he's not flashy in the points department for his offense because he's a stay-at-home defenseman. He's very steady. We saw that in the postseason for the Greyhounds last year, so that experience will come in handy for the Oshawa Generals this year. But points-wise this season, 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 points in 26 games of work. He is a +1, but last year he was a +36 with 44 points. So Gibson, he's going to be quite the steady blue liner for this Oshawa Generals team. Like I said, looking to repeat as Eastern Conference champions. And this is a team, they've got the depth, and Gibson, he's going to fill in quite nicely. And when you look at the blue line that the Oshawa Generals have, he's going to be joining the likes of Luca D'Amato, Luca Morelli. You've got Zachary Sandu, who they acquired at the trade deadline last year, and Ben Danford, the Toronto Maple Leafs prospect. So it's already a pretty good defensive unit with this Oshawa Generals team. I kind of wondered if this would be an area of focus after trading Bedkowski to Owen Sound in the Colby Barlow trade, because Bedkowski was a pretty big body on the blue line, but now they have found a replacement, bringing in Gibson. So I like this trade for both teams. This is going to fill a need for the Oshawa Generals as they look to contend for the East after the Barrie Colts, of course, did their big trade on Sunday with the North Bay Battalion, bring in Romani and Van Steensel, and the Barrie Colts already have a very deep defensive unit. So these two teams looking to keep pace with one another. Of course, we know the Eastern Conference is loaded this year. Plenty of teams looking to be contenders. You could actually give an argument for 7 of the 8 teams that are currently in a playoff spot as potential contenders in the East. The likes of Brampton, Brantford, Kingston, Sudbury, Niagara, Barrie, and of course the Oshawa Generals. So the big trade here that we first thought was going to be made official on Sunday took a couple of days as they had to figure out the draft picks, figure out the players who were going in both directions. So it ends up being Andrew Gibson for Brady Smith and 8 draft picks. And for the Sioux Greyhounds, Brady Smith, he's a Whitby, Ontario native. He's a young man. He was drafted in the first round, 17th overall in the 2024 OHL priority selection. He's had very limited minutes with the Generals, which makes sense when he's playing for a team that's got a lot of depth up front. But in 37 games of work, 2 goals, 5 assists, 7 points. So not too shabby there for Brady Smith, who will be getting some extra ice time when he joins the Greyhounds, who do have a good youth movement right now, especially when you look at the likes of Brady Martin, who's projected to be a first-round pick in the upcoming NHL entry draft. So the Greyhounds, they were contenders last year. This year taking that step back, and expect them to be a contender again in the next couple of seasons. It might actually be sooner rather than later on that front. Now, what is interesting is how a few people have been mentioning how it seems as though the trade deadline a little slower than usual. And it turns out, I did mention this on Sunday, that there was a trade between the Owen Sound Attack and the Brampton Steelheads, but a no-trade clause was used. So that trade was null and void. But according to Bob Murray, he's a reporter out of Windsor, there's actually been multiple deals involving the Owen Sound Attack where no trade clauses were used. So the Attack trying to make moves. They're a team looking to the future, but having some difficulties making it work. And of course, Connor Smith, an overage defenseman, he is highly sought after. He's the big overager trade asset that teams are looking at. And then you've got Sam McHugh. There's a few teams looking to add to their forward depth, and also hearing the name Landon Hookie. So the Owen Sound attack, they're trying to make moves, but it sounds as though a few moves have been blocked due to no trade clauses. Obviously, there's still a couple of days to go until the overager trade deadline, which is on Thursday at noon. All teams have to get down to 3 overagers. Ottawa, the team right now, sitting at 4 OAs as they have to address that situation. And then the rest of the league's trade deadline is on Friday at noon. And again, I'll be doing a live stream on Friday. That'll get underway at 9 a.m. as we'll be able to hang out, chat about the OHL, and what these trades mean for the teams who are making these moves to either bolster for this year's run for the playoffs or looking to the future. So can't wait for that. Again, that's going to be at 9 a.m. here on the channel. And another news item I wanted to touch on, the hiring of Dave Matsos as an assistant coach in Sarnia. We'll remember that Michael Haley was let go by the Sarnia Sting as they were right there in the midst of a slump. The Sting, they were looking pretty rough during the month of December. They had that 9-game road trip, came home. They weren't really able to get wins. They had a shootout victory over Ottawa, but other than that, this Sarnia Sting team, they were struggling. So they made the move, letting go of Michael Haley, and now Dave Matsos, with plenty of coaching experience in the junior hockey level, has been brought in as an assistant, and he actually has experience as a head coach in both Sudbury and Hamilton. So I actually got to know Dave Matsos because I was covering the Sudbury Wolves when he joined as an assistant coach with Sudbury. That was during the time where Paul Fixter, he was let go because the Sudbury Wolves, they were struggling. And then Dave Matsos brought in as an interim head coach at the time. And the one thing that is great about him, he's a great communicator. He's a player's coach. He's also well done with the defensive units, the penalty kill. So I think this is going to be a good boost here for the Sarnia Sting, who have been much improved since Michael Haley was let go. So I feel like Matsos is going to be a great voice for this room. And of course, he does have championship pedigree. He won the OHL championship as an assistant coach with the Hamilton Bulldogs in 2018. So I really like this pickup. Dave Matsos, a great voice behind the bench. And I really do like the direction the Sarnia Sting are heading. They are a young group. They're not too busy on the trade front. Not a lot of speculation as to moves. It sounds like teams are asking Sarnia about Fisher and Young. But other than that, the Sting, if they stand pat, I think they'd be okay with that. And I think Sarnia Sting fans might agree, although it does make things a little more exciting when teams are involved in trade speculation coming up to the OHL trade deadline. But like I said, I think this is a great addition for the bench for Sarnia, bringing in David Matsos. So that's how I see it from the booth. The big trade between Sault Ste. Marie and Oshawa now complete. We'll see if that's a big enough domino to get some more trade action going, as there's been a lot of conversations between the GMs, just not a lot in the ways of confirmation. But of course, we're still a couple days away from the trade deadline, so we'll see what happens. So again, thank you very much for all your support. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you again soon.